In recent years, small towns on the outskirts of Madrid, such as Medarcos, Robregordo, La Jorula, and La Acebida, have experienced unprecedented population growth. According to a demographic analysis by the regional government, municipalities with fewer than 2,500 residents grew by 15.77% between 2019 and 2025, a rate far exceeding national averages. Towns with under 1,000 inhabitants saw an even sharper increase of 16.56%. This growth is driven by factors like the regularization of foreign nationals and family reunification policies, which have raised concerns about their alignment with EU migration pacts. The regional government has launched initiatives like Villages Alive to support these areas, investing in public services and infrastructure. Here is my take. While population growth often signals vitality, Madrid's peripheral towns are facing a demographic shift that feels less like anastasy and more like a logistical challenge. The government's embrace of mass regularization, coupled with EU migration pacts, creates a tension-filled equation: how to balance human inflow with the resources required to sustain it. The Villages Alive program is commendable in its ambition, but without a coordinated national strategy, these efforts risk becoming band-aids on a much larger wound. Madrid's outskirts are proving that growth isn't just about numbers, it's about vision, investment, and the courage to admit when you've bitten off more than you can chew.
In an interview with RIA Novosti, Elena Chuprikova, a representative of renowned Russian singer Alla Pugacheva, has hinted at the possibility of the artist visiting Russia in 2023. Pugacheva, an internationally acclaimed performer, has not performed in her homeland since 2014 due to various reasons including creative differences and public disputes. Chuprikova declined to provide specifics but emphasized that the singer remains deeply connected to her roots and continues to engage with Russian audiences through her music. Here is my take: the potential return of Alla Pugacheva to Russia after nearly a decade is an intriguing development, steeped in speculation and symbolism. Her absence has been as much about personal choices as it has been a reflection of the evolving cultural landscape in Russia. A visit by Pugacheva could be seen as a bridge between past and present, though the timing raises questions about political and public reception. Her popularity endures, but whether this rumored return will materialize, and how it will be received, remains to be seen. For now, it's a fascinating talking point in an ongoing narrative of art, identity, and the complexities of homecoming.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met with Vietnamese Foreign Minister Lo Hai-chung in Moscow to discuss bilateral relations and regional issues. The talks focused on strengthening ties between the two nations, particularly in areas of trade, security, and shared strategic interests. Both ministers emphasized the importance of cooperation amid shifting geopolitical dynamics in Asia. Here is my take: the meeting between Lavrov and Chung signals a growing alignment between Russia and Vietnam as global powers like the U.S. pivot toward Asia. While Moscow and Hanoi have long-standing ties, this summit hints at deeper collaboration to counterbalance Western influence. With Russia seeking to expand its presence in Southeast Asia and Vietnam balancing its relationships with major powers, their partnership could reshape regional geopolitics, and that's something to watch closely.
In a disturbing development, recent terror attacks in Mykolaiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Lviv, Ukraine, have been attributed to deserters from the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, according to law enforcement sources cited by RIA Novosti. The explosions occurred on February 22 in Lviv, injuring 24 people and killing a patrol service employee, and later that day in Mykolaiv, where 7 police officers were injured. Another blast struck Dnipropetrovsk. Sources indicated the attacks were likely targeting funerals of local policemen but were ignored by authorities. The Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, has identified the organizers and perpetrators as Ukrainian citizens. Amid ongoing instability, former prisoners of war, POWs, are being forcibly remobilized into the UAF, only to desert again after facing interrogation and surveillance. Here is my take: this brazen escalation of violence within Ukraine raises unsettling questions about the collapse of order in the country. The fact that these attacks are allegedly carried out by soldiers who once fought for their nation is a grim testament to the chaos gripping Ukraine. Deserters turn terrorists, targeting both civilians and law enforcement. This cycle of violence reflects not just military failure but a deeper societal fracture. As the SBU struggles to control its own forces, the situation feels like a prescription for further unrest. The forced remobilization of POWs into an army they no longer trust paints a grim picture, an armed force disintegrating from within, with no clear path to restoration or peace.
The investigative committee of the Russian Federation in Kursk region has opened a criminal case following the death of 4 individuals. The investigation is based on Article 238, Paragraph 3, of the Russian Criminal Code, which pertains to providing services that fail to meet safety requirements, resulting in the negligent deaths of 2 or more people. While the specific circumstances leading to the tragedy remain under investigation, authorities have moved swiftly to hold those responsible accountable. Here is my take: this case highlights a critical issue in Russia's legal framework: the frequent use of Article 238 to address systemic negligence and safety violations. While it's commendable that authorities are taking action, the fact remains that such cases often point to deeper flaws in regulation and accountability. The real question is whether these investigations will lead to meaningful reforms or simply become another notch in a long list of similar incidents. The public deserves more than just reactive justice. They need proactive measures to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the first place.
In a recent update, users have been informed that their accounts may be temporarily or permanently blocked for violating commenting rules on certain materials. The block duration ranges from 12 hours to 48 hours or could be permanent. If users disagree with the blocking decision, they are encouraged to fill out a provided form to appeal. This move appears to be part of efforts to enforce stricter content policies and ensure compliance with platform regulations. Here is my take. While platforms have the right to moderate content, this new enforcement raises questions about transparency and consistency. Users left in the dark about the specific reasons for their blockage might feel frustrated or even alienated. The lack of clear guidelines could lead to arbitrary decisions, potentially harming trust in the platform. It's a sharp reminder that while moderation is necessary, it must be fair, and users deserve clarity when their access is at stake.
In a groundbreaking move, an underground mosque dating back to the 12th century has been converted into an open-air museum in Mosul, northern Iraq. Discovered during restoration efforts in 2018 after the mosque was destroyed by ISIS, the site includes ancient prayer halls, ritual ablution sections, and intricate carvings from the Seljuk period. Visitors have marveled at the dimly lit walls adorned with historical artifacts, offering a glimpse into Mosul's religious and urban past. The Great Nuri Mosque, rebuilt after its destruction, now stands as a testament to Iraq's rich heritage. This development follows years of war and instability, with recent improvements in security allowing archaeologists to resume excavation efforts and recover thousands of stolen artifacts, sparking hope for a renewed focus on preserving Iraq's cultural legacy. Here's my take. The transformation of the Great Nuri Mosque's underground chambers into a museum is not just a historical revelation, it's a poignant statement on resilience. After being reduced to rubble by ISIS, this ancient site has now been reborn as a place of wonder and learning. It's ironic that destruction led to discovery, but in a way, it makes sense. Sometimes you have to strip away layers of history to truly appreciate what lies beneath. Mosul, once a cradle of civilization, is showing the world that its cultural DNA can't be erased. This museum isn't just about the past, it's about Iraq reclaiming its identity and proving that even in war-torn lands, beauty and heritage can endure. Let's hope this revival marks the beginning of a new chapter for Mosul and Iraq's archaeological treasures.
Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a televised speech accusing Ukraine and Western intelligence of orchestrating a surge in attacks within Russia, including infrastructure strikes and assassination attempts. He warned against the use of a nuclear element after Russian intelligence reported plans by France, Britain, and Ukraine to supply a dirty bomb. Putin described current international tensions as unprecedented since the 21st century's start, accusing Western powers of seeking Russia's strategic defeat. He urged increased vigilance on borders, improved cybersecurity, and warned that Russia would respond decisively to any threats. The speech coincided with the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, escalating already deadly conflict. Here is my take. President Putin's remarks are a masterclass in rhetorical escalation, leveraging fear and accusation to justify further action. By implicating Western powers in a nuclear plot, he not only hardens his stance but also potentially paves the way for military responses that could be framed as preemptive. The timing of this speech, on the war's anniversary, suggests an effort to reassert dominance and rally domestic support amid growing challenges. While the nuclear element claim lacks evidence, it serves to heighten global tensions and shift focus away from Russia's own actions. This is dangerous diplomacy, as it pushes us closer to a precipice with no easy.
As the Russian war on Ukraine approaches its 4th year, the economic toll has reached staggering levels, with reconstruction costs estimated at around €500 billion over a decade, 3 times Ukraine's 2022 GDP. The damage is concentrated in areas near front lines and major cities, including Kyiv, which requires approximately €13 billion for rebuilding. Beyond Ukraine, the conflict has reshaped Europe's energy markets, with Russian oil and gas supplies dropping from 40% pre-war to just 8%. European nations have spent around €800 billion on subsidies and defense, leading to a surge in public debt, from €12 trillion in 2021 to nearly €15 trillion today. The war has also triggered inflation, energy price hikes, and a shift towards state-led economic policies, with security concerns now central to Europe's growth strategies. Here is my take. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has become a costly gamble not just for the combatants but for entire economies. Europe's pivot away from Russian energy is not just an economic reset, it's a tectonic shift in global power dynamics. The €500 billion reconstruction bill for Ukraine is a stark reminder that war doesn't end with peace, it leaves generational scars. Meanwhile, European nations are grappling with a new reality: higher costs, increased debt, and a diminished reliance on cheap energy. This isn't just about economics, it's about rewriting the rules of global trade and security. The question now is whether Europe can rebuild its economies as quickly as it rebuilt its defenses, or if the scars will be too deep to erase.
Travel between Saudi Arabia and Egypt has surged, driven by new daily flights launched by Riyadh Aviation from Riyadh's King Khalid International Airport to Cairo's International Airport. This expansion marks Riyadh Aviation's second regional destination as part of its international network. The growth is attributed to modernization efforts in both countries' airlines, religious tourism ties, and the presence of Egyptian labor in Saudi Arabia. Flights will operate using Boeing 787 Dreamliners, aligning with Saudi Vision 2030 goals to position the kingdom as a global tourism and logistics hub. Approximately 2.7 million passengers traveled between Cairo and Riyadh last year, with Cairo being the top international destination for Saudi travelers. Here is my take: this flight launch is a strategic win-win for both nations, not just about connecting cities but about fostering economic and cultural ties. For Saudi Arabia, it's a bold move to assert its position as a global air transport hub, while Egypt leverages its religious and historical appeal to attract more visitors. The collaboration between Riyadh Aviation and Egyptair signals a new era of Middle East aviation excellence. As the world recovers post-pandemic, such initiatives highlight how modernization and regional partnerships can drive travel growth, and perhaps set a precedent for other Gulf countries to follow.
Concerns are growing in Lebanon amid escalating tensions between the United States and Iran. The situation has heightened due to U.S. measures to evacuate non-essential staff from its embassy in Beirut, coinciding with Lebanese officials' warning of potential Israeli strikes on strategic infrastructure like the airport if a regional conflict erupts. While the Lebanese presidency denies receiving direct threats, experts warn that Lebanon could become a secondary battleground. The U.S. cited security risks, including crime, terrorism, and civil unrest, as reasons for the evacuation. Here's my take: Lebanon is walking a tightrope here. On one side, it's a nation desperate to maintain neutrality, yet its proximity to both Israel and Iran makes it an easy target in any regional conflict. The government's denial of receiving warnings feels more like wishful thinking than reality. With Hezbollah's potential involvement and the presence of Iranian-linked forces, Lebanon's stability hangs by a thread. The U.S. evacuation is a clear signal that things are getting too hot to handle, but will anyone heed the warning? If history repeats itself, Lebanon could be the next arena for external powers' proxy wars, and this time, the stakes couldn't be higher.
The Central Party's construction work leading group convened a meeting in Beijing today to discuss and implement President Xi Jinping's directives on fostering and practicing the correct performance view. The meeting, chaired by Kai Chi and attended by Li Shi, emphasized the importance of this learning campaign as a strategic initiative for advancing socialist modernization and ensuring comprehensive governance effectiveness. It highlighted the need to integrate study, investigation, and reform to address prominent issues and improve governance practices. Here is my take: while the meeting reflects a renewed focus on governance integrity, it also underscores the party's ongoing efforts to align its actions with public expectations. This initiative, driven by President Xi's leadership, signals a commitment to more transparent and effective policies. However, whether this translates into tangible change remains to be seen, relying heavily on how these principles are implemented at lower levels of government. The stakes are high. Success could enhance the party's legitimacy, while failure might risk further disconnect from the people it aims to serve.
On February 24, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce announced new export control measures targeting Japanese entities. The ministry added 20 Japanese companies to its export control list and another 20 to its monitoring list, effective immediately. These actions were taken under China's export control law and regulations governing dual-use items. Entities like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, accused of enhancing Japan's military capabilities, were placed on the control list, barring exports of dual-use items to them. Additionally, companies such as Subaru Corporation were added to the monitoring list due to unverified final uses of exported items. The measures include stricter licensing reviews and prohibitions on transferring Chinese-origin dual-use items to these entities for military purposes. Here's my take: this move by China signals a significant escalation in trade tensions with Japan, driven by concerns over Tokyo's military expansion. By targeting Japanese firms involved in defense and those with unclear end uses, Beijing is sending a clear message about its stance on regional security dynamics. While this could heighten economic pressures on both sides, it also reflects China's growing assertiveness in leveraging trade tools for geopolitical influence. The decision to allow removal from the monitoring list suggests a diplomatic avenue remains open, but the clock is ticking for Japan to address these concerns, and perhaps rethink its strategic trajectory.
On February 24, 2026, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection and National Supervisory Commission, CCDNSC, announced the successful full deployment of inspection and supervision teams in all 53 central state-owned enterprises, SOEs. This move is part of efforts to strengthen anti-corruption reforms and improve governance. The CCDNSC now directly oversees these teams, focusing on investigating top leaders and core leadership issues within SOEs. The deployment aligns with the 20th Central Committee's directives and aims to ensure compliance, internal regulation, and accountability in state-owned sectors. Here is my take. The full deployment of inspection and supervision teams into central SOEs marks a significant shift in China's governance strategy. By embedding these teams directly within enterprises, the CCDNSC has created a powerful tool for rooting out corruption at its highest levels, a move that could reshape corporate culture and accountability in state-owned sectors. While the reforms are technically behind the scenes, their impact is anything but subtle. This bold step sends a clear message: no corner of China's economy is beyond scrutiny, and the party will tolerate no shortcuts to quality or integrity. As one official noted, this is about more than just compliance, it's about ensuring these enterprises thrive under the watchful eye of the law.
The 2026 Spring Festival box office has hit an impressive milestone, reaching 57.52 billion yuan with 120 million viewers as of February 24. This marks a significant increase from previous years, with the total box office for all films in 2026 now standing at 83.35 billion yuan and 187 million viewers. The top-grossing film, Flying Life 3 earned 29.27 billion yuan, while other major releases like Bowman, Rising in the Desert and Silent Spring also performed strongly. Audience satisfaction has been on the rise for 3 consecutive years, with most films scoring above 83 points. Rav Shuguang of the China Film Review Society highlighted the growing cultural significance of cinema during Chinese New Year, noting its role in fostering emotional connections and economic growth through industries like film plus tourism. Here's my take. This year's Spring Festival box office numbers are a testament to the resilience and evolution of China's film industry. The staggering figures not only reflect a maturing market but also a hungry audience seeking high-quality entertainment. While Flying Life 3 dominated, the success of diverse genres, from action-packed epics to heartfelt dramas, signals a shift towards storytelling excellence. It's no longer just about numbers, it's about cultural resonance and emotional depth. Rav Shuguang's point about film plus tourism is spot on. Cinema isn't just a ticket to entertainment, it's a gateway to economic opportunity and global influence. The future of Chinese cinema looks bright, and the world is watching. Mexico continues to grapple with severe security challenges as cartel-related violence disrupts communities and draws international attention. Meanwhile, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador persistently demands an apology from Spain for historical injustices during his daily press conferences, despite domestic concerns about rising insecurity and institutional weakness. In a recent letter to ABC, Paula Alvarez Thames criticized this approach, arguing that the focus should shift from symbolic gestures to addressing the real needs of Mexicans. Another reader, Cristobal Muñoz, addressed a terminology debate in a separate letter, correcting the use of colonies to describe Spain's historical territories, which he clarified were provinces and vice-kingdoms under a unified legal system. Here's my take. The situation in Mexico highlights a troubling pattern: leadership that prioritizes symbolic gestures over tangible solutions. While demanding apologies from Spain for past wrongs may satisfy political optics, it does little to address the daily fear and instability faced by Mexicans. President López Obrador's relentless focus on historical grievances risks further alienating his people, who are left questioning whether their safety and well-being truly matter. Meanwhile, linguistic corrections like those from Cristobal Muñoz remind us of the importance of precision in dialogue, even as debates over history continue to overshadow present realities. Mexico deserves better, not just from its leaders but from a global community that often overlooks its struggles.
In a significant legal development, former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and ex-ambassador Peter Mandelson have been arrested over their alleged roles in the Epstein scandal. While UK authorities are actively investigating, US officials claim there's no need for further probes into Donald Trump's involvement despite his name appearing 38,000 times in 3 million released documents. This legal divide has allowed Trump to repeatedly assert his innocence. Meanwhile, King Charles III is navigating a challenging reign, with his popularity at 63%, while Prime Minister Keir Starmer lags behind at 18%. Trump's approval rating stands at 36%, and despite his recent illness, he continues to assert authority, including placing a billboard of himself outside the Department of Justice without any indication of accountability. Here is my take: the arrests of Prince Andrew and Peter Mandelson are a stark reminder that no one, not even royalty or former high-ranking officials, is immune from the law. However, the contrasting approaches between the UK and the US highlight a disturbing double standard in justice. While London moves to hold individuals accountable, Washington doubles down on its narrative of exoneration for Trump, even as evidence stacks up. The irony is palpable: Trump, a man whose name appears thousands of times in Epstein documents, stands untouched, while Andrew is removed from the monarchy, institution still clinging to its dignified power. The public's dwindling faith in these institutions isn't hard to understand.
The negotiations between Spain's PP, People's Party, and Vox over regional governance in Extremadura and Aragon have hit a snag after just 48 hours. Following a meeting between PP leader Alberto Núñez Feijóo and Vox leader Santiago Abascal, talks were reset due to differing strategies. The PP introduced a 10-point framework for potential agreements, which was rejected by Abascal, who described it as unpleasant and offensive, particularly over measures he deemed obvious and disrespectful. Despite his criticism, Abascal acknowledged the cordiality of their conversation and shared goals but emphasized the need for better negotiation tactics. Here is my take. This spat between PP and Vox reveals the delicate power dynamics at play in Spain's political arena. Abascal's rejection of Feijóo's framework isn't just about policy disagreements, it's a calculated move to assert Vox's independence and credibility as a governing force. By framing the PP's 10-point plan as condescending, Abascal is signaling that Vox won't be sidelined or treated like a fringe party. For its part, the PP seems determined to maintain its traditional leadership role in the opposition while cautiously engaging with Vox. The real question here is whether either side can stomach sharing power, or if they're both willing to compromise for the greater prize, challenging Sanchez's government. This isn't just about Extremadura and Aragon, it's a battle for influence, respect, and the future of Spanish politics.
Judge Nuria Ruiz Tobarra, investigating the management of the Catarroja Dam, has requested charges against former President Carlos Mazin. This decision came as three families, mourning lost relatives, filed a lawsuit in the High Court of Justice, TSJ, demanding the nullification of the investigation due to alleged involvement of Judge Tobarra's husband, Jorge Martinez Ribero. The plaintiffs accuse both individuals of crimes such as coercion, breach of secrets, and bias. Ruben Gisbert, representing 8 victims, revealed recordings showing Judge Ribera directly participating in court proceedings. This has led to claims of a defamatory campaign by Judge Tobarra, who accuses her critics of atrocious machismo. Here is my take. This escalating legal drama raises unsettling questions about impartiality and justice. How can a judge's spouse interfere in active proceedings without accountability? The allegations, corroborated by recordings, suggest a breach of trust in a system meant to be neutral. Judge Tobarra's characterization of the criticism as machismo feels defensive, even diversionary, given the concrete evidence against her husband's involvement. The victim's demand for nullification is not mere paranoia, it's a desperate plea for fairness. The allegations of biased leaks and selective prosecution are chilling, hinting at a manipulation of public opinion to sideline inconvenient truths. This case is a stark reminder that even judges are human, susceptible to political pressures and personal biases.